Have you ever looked around your home and thought, why do I still have all this stuff? Maybe it's the closet filled with clothes you haven't worn in years, or the garage stacked with boxes you promised yourself you'd go through one day. It's funny, isn't it? We spend the first half of our lives collecting, and then the second half wondering what to do with it all. And here's the surprising part. All of those things, the extras we don't use, aren't just taking up space in our homes, they're taking up space in our wallets too. Now that many of us are retired, or at least past the years of working full-time, money takes on a different meaning. It's no longer about chasing the next promotion or planning for the kids' future. It's about protecting what we have, stretching it so it lasts, and making sure we can enjoy life without constantly worrying about bills. And that's where minimalism comes in. Minimalism isn't about living with nothing. It's not about selling your house, giving away all your possessions, or sitting on the floor with just one chair and one bowl. No, minimalism is simply about being intentional, keeping the things that truly matter and letting go of the rest. And when we do that, the benefits go far beyond a tidy home. It can change the way we handle our money, our time, and even our peace of mind. In this video, we're going to talk about how embracing minimalism can actually help seniors save money and live more comfortably during retirement. Because here's the truth. We've all worked too hard to spend our golden years weighed down by clutter and unnecessary expenses. Instead, we can simplify and create room for what really matters, whether that's traveling, spending time with family, or just enjoying a quiet cup of tea without financial stress hanging over us. So let's dive in. The first way minimalism helps us save money is by making us more mindful about what we bring into our homes. Think back for a moment to the last time you bought something on impulse. Maybe it was a kitchen gadget that promised to chop vegetables in 5 different ways. Or a new shirt that you thought you needed, even though your closet already has plenty. At the time, it might have felt small, maybe just $20 or $30. But over a year, those little purchases add up to hundreds, even thousands of dollars. And often, those items end up sitting unused, gathering dust. Minimalism teaches us to pause before buying, to ask ourselves simple questions. Do I really need this? Will it improve my life, or will it just take up space? When we start practicing this kind of mindful spending, we begin to notice how much money we were wasting on things we didn't actually want or need. And here's the best part, it doesn't feel like deprivation. In fact, it feels freeing. Instead of coming home with another thing to store, clean, or eventually donate, you're saving that money for something meaningful. I know a couple who embraced this idea in their 70s. They had always loved traveling, but for years they told themselves they couldn't afford it. Yet, when they finally sat down and looked at their expenses, they realized how much was going into things like subscriptions they didn't use, knickknacks from shopping trips, and dinners out that didn't even feel special. By cutting back on those small but frequent purchases, they freed up enough to take a 2-week trip to Italy. The joy they got from that experience was far greater than any of those forgotten items ever gave them. The second way minimalism helps us save is by reducing the cost of maintaining what we already own. Think about it. The bigger the house, the higher the heating and cooling bills. The more clothes we have, the more money goes into laundry, dry cleaning, and closet space. The more cars in the driveway, the higher the insurance, maintenance, and registration fees. Each possession carries what some call a hidden tax. Even when it sits quietly in the corner, it costs us something: time, money, or energy. A friend of mine, after retiring, decided to downsize from a 4-bedroom house to a cozy 2-bedroom condo. At first, she was nervous. She worried about losing space for guests and about parting with so many of her belongings. But once she made the move, she was amazed. Her utility bills dropped almost in half. She no longer had to pay for lawn care or home repairs on a big property. And cleaning her new space took her an hour, not a whole afternoon. Suddenly, she had more money left over each month and more energy to enjoy her hobbies. Downsizing wasn't about sacrifice. It was about making room for the life she actually wanted to live. Minimalism encourages us to take a step back and look at what's really necessary. Do we need 3 sets of dishes when 2 people live in the house? Do we need a guest bedroom that only gets used once a year? Do we need a storage unit filled with boxes we haven't opened in a decade? By letting go of the extras, we not only free up physical space, but also financial space. And here's something important to remember. Letting go doesn't mean losing. It often means gaining. Gaining more money in your pocket. Gaining peace of mind. gaining time and energy that would have been spent managing all those things. When you're not worried about dusting collections or fixing leaky faucets in unused rooms, you can focus on enjoying your retirement in ways that truly matter. The third way minimalism saves money is by changing how we think about gifts and experiences. For many of us, giving and receiving gifts has always been a big part of holidays and birthdays. But over the years, that tradition can become expensive, and honestly, it can create more clutter than joy. Do you really need another coffee mug or another sweater you'll hardly wear? Probably not. And chances are your loved ones feel the same way. Instead, minimalism encourages us to shift our focus toward experiences or practical, meaningful items. Maybe it's treating your grandkids to an afternoon at the zoo instead of buying them another toy. Maybe it's suggesting a family potluck dinner instead of everyone exchanging gifts. These choices not only save money, but also create memories that last far longer than any object ever could. I once met a grandmother who told me that for Christmas, she stopped buying things altogether. Instead, she wrote each grandchild a personal letter about the qualities she admired in them, along with a small amount of money for their savings accounts. At first, she worried they might be disappointed. But to her surprise, those letters became cherished keepsakes. Her grandchildren still talk about them today, long after the toys from their childhood have been forgotten. When we align our spending with what truly matters, connection, joy, peace, we not only save money, we enrich our lives. And that is the heart of minimalism. Now that we've started to see how being mindful about our purchases and possessions can free up money, let's talk about another powerful way minimalism works in our favor: simplifying our daily routines. You might not realize it, but the little choices we make each day, what we eat, how we entertain ourselves, even the way we run errands can quietly drain our savings if we're not careful. Take food, for example. Many of us grew up in households where a full pantry and a stocked freezer were signs of security. We carried that habit into adulthood, buying in bulk or picking up extra items at the store just in case. But how many times have you cleaned out your fridge and found wilted vegetables, expired condiments, or leftovers that never got eaten? That's money, right there, going into the trash. Minimalism encourages us to simplify our meals, to buy only what we need, and to enjoy the satisfaction of using it all. Not only does this cut down on waste, but it also lowers grocery bills significantly. I know a gentleman in his mid-60s who decided to apply this principle. He used to go grocery shopping 2 or 3 times a week, picking up whatever caught his eye. But when he embraced a minimalist approach, he began planning simple meals, nothing fancy, just wholesome, satisfying dishes he actually enjoyed. He bought fewer ingredients, used them completely, and found that he was spending nearly 30% less each month on food. The bonus? He also felt healthier, with less processed food sneaking into his diet. Another area where minimalism saves us money is in entertainment. These days, it's easy to get swept up in subscriptions, streaming services, magazines, apps, even memberships we hardly use. Each one seems small, maybe $10 or $15, but together they add up quickly. Have you ever added them all up? Sometimes it's shocking to realize just how much we're spending each month on services we don't really use. Minimalism pushes us to ask, do I really need all of these? Most of the time, the answer is no. One couple I met had 5 different streaming subscriptions, yet they admitted they mostly watched the same 2 shows. By cutting back to just one service, they saved hundreds of dollars a year without feeling deprived. Instead, they filled the gap with other free or low-cost activities, borrowing books and DVDs from the library, going for walks, playing board games with friends. They didn't feel like they'd lost anything. In fact, they felt like they'd gained more time together, more conversation, and more enjoyment from the simple things. Minimalism also helps us rethink the way we handle transportation. Owning multiple cars can be costly, not just the purchase itself, but the ongoing insurance, fuel, and maintenance. For many seniors, especially those who are retired, 2 cars are no longer necessary. Downsizing to one vehicle or even switching to public transportation when possible can make a significant financial difference. Plus, it often encourages us to walk more, which has its own health benefits. I know a retired teacher who made this change. He and his wife realized they rarely used their second car. It mostly sat in the driveway, gathering dust, but still costing them insurance and occasional repairs. When they finally sold it, they not only pocketed the money from the sale, but also saved on all the ongoing costs. He told me it felt like a weight lifted, one less thing to worry about, one less bill to pay. And whenever he needed a second car temporarily, he found that renting one for a day or 2 was far cheaper in the long run. Let's not forget health expenses, which become a bigger concern as we age. Minimalism can play a surprising role here too. By simplifying our lives, owning fewer things, keeping our homes uncluttered, focusing on simple meals and routines, we actually create a healthier environment. Fewer possessions mean fewer allergens collecting dust. A simpler diet often means less processed food and better nutrition. Less stress over clutter or money means improved mental health. All of this can translate into fewer doctor visits and lower healthcare costs over time. It's not about avoiding medical care, it's about creating habits and surroundings that keep us healthier in the first place. Another friend of mine, in her early 70s, used to complain about feeling constantly stressed. Her home was full of things she'd collected over decades, and just looking at it made her feel overwhelmed. After adopting a minimalist approach, decluttering her home, simplifying her wardrobe, letting go of things she no longer used, she noticed her blood pressure improve. Her doctor even commented on it. Less stress meant better health, which meant fewer medications and fewer trips to the doctor. It's amazing how interconnected these things are. Minimalism also shifts our perspective on technology. We live in a world where gadgets and devices are constantly being upgraded. New phones, new tablets, new smart devices, it seems endless. But here's the truth. Most of us don't need the latest model. The device we already have often works perfectly well. By resisting the pressure to upgrade every year, we save hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars over time. I remember talking to a man who proudly showed me his phone. It was almost 6 years old, a real dinosaur by today's standards. But it worked. It did everything he needed, and he said, "Why should I spend $1,000 on a new one just because it has a slightly better camera? I'd rather use that money to visit my grandchildren." That's minimalism in action, valuing experiences and relationships over things. And finally, minimalism helps us save money by encouraging gratitude for what we already have. So often we spend because we're chasing a feeling, happiness, comfort, excitement. But that feeling fades quickly after a purchase, which is why we end up buying again and again. Minimalism teaches us to slow down, to appreciate the chair we already sit in, the clothes we already wear, the meals we already enjoy. When gratitude replaces the constant urge for more, spending naturally decreases. I know a widow who practices this daily. Each morning she walks through her home and names 5 things she's grateful for. Some days it's as simple as, "I love this chair by the window," or, "I'm thankful for the way the morning light falls on my kitchen table." She says this practice not only lifts her mood, but also keeps her from wanting to buy new things. She realizes she already has what she needs, and that contentment has saved her a surprising amount of money. Minimalism isn't about deprivation, it's about liberation. It frees us from unnecessary spending, from clutter, from stress, and from the hidden costs of possessions. And the beauty of it is, anyone can start, no matter their age or stage of life. The shift doesn't have to be drastic. It can begin with one drawer, one closet, one choice to say no to something you don't truly need. One of the most overlooked ways minimalism helps us save money in retirement is by teaching us the value of quality over quantity. When we were younger, it was easy to get caught up in sales or buy things because they were cheap. But as the years go on, those cheap items often cost more in the long run. A low-quality pair of shoes that wears out quickly needs to be replaced again and again, while a well-made pair can last for years. A discount appliance that breaks down within a year ends up costing more than investing once in something reliable. Minimalism asks us to pause and choose carefully. Instead of having 5 of something mediocre, we keep 1 or 2 that are truly dependable. This doesn't just save money over time, it also simplifies life, because we don't have to deal with constant repairs or replacements. I think of a man I once met who had a closet full of shoes, many of them uncomfortable or falling apart. When he embraced minimalism, he sold or donated most of them, and invested in 2 high-quality pairs that fit well and lasted. He told me that he ended up saving money and, more importantly, no longer wasted time deciding what to wear. That sense of ease is something money can't buy, but it often comes when we stop chasing quantity and focus on quality. Another way minimalism supports financial well-being is through legacy. As we move through our retirement years, many of us think about what we'll leave behind for our children and grandchildren. A house full of clutter doesn't make life easier for them, it often becomes a burden. Think of the time, effort, and even cost that goes into sorting through decades of belongings. By embracing minimalism now, we not only save ourselves money but also gift our loved ones a lighter, simpler path forward. Instead of leaving them with piles of stuff to manage, we leave them with clarity, cherished memories, and perhaps even financial stability because we've spent wisely and lived intentionally. One grandmother told me her decision to downsize wasn't just about her. She said, "I don't want my children to spend weeks sorting through my things when I'm gone. I want them to remember me for the stories we shared, not for the boxes in the attic." That shift in perspective made it easier for her to let go of what no longer served her. In doing so, she saved money, reduced stress, and created a legacy of simplicity and love. Minimalism also transforms how we view our time. And believe it or not, time has a direct link to money. When we own fewer things, we spend less time cleaning, repairing, organizing, or shopping for more. That time can be used for meaningful activities, whether that's cooking healthy meals at home instead of eating out, learning a new skill, volunteering, or simply relaxing. All of these save money in subtle ways. When you're not constantly rushing around, it's easier to make thoughtful, cost-effective choices instead of last-minute, expensive ones. I remember a retired nurse who said, "The less I own, the more time I have. And the more time I have, the less money I waste." She explained that when her home was cluttered, she felt constantly busy but not productive. After decluttering, she discovered she had the time and energy to cook at home, enjoy free local concerts, and spend afternoons walking with friends. Her expenses naturally dropped, but her happiness rose. That's the magic of minimalism. It saves you money without you even noticing, simply by giving you back your time. Perhaps the most powerful gift minimalism gives us in retirement is peace of mind. For many seniors, financial stress is one of the biggest worries. Will the money last? What if unexpected costs come up? Minimalism doesn't solve every problem, but it builds a cushion. When you're not overspending on things you don't need, you naturally save more. When your home is simpler, you're not paying for maintenance or storage you don't use. When your life is centered on gratitude and meaningful experiences instead of constant consumption, you feel more in control. That sense of control is priceless, especially in a stage of life where we want to enjoy every day without unnecessary worry. One couple shared with me that embracing minimalism allowed them to build a small emergency fund during retirement. Before, they were living paycheck to paycheck on their fixed income. But by cutting out clutter and unnecessary expenses, they created enough breathing room to set aside a little each month. Over time, that small cushion grew. They said it wasn't about the money itself, it was about the peace it gave them, knowing they had a safety net. That peace allowed them to live their days more fully, with less fear about what tomorrow might bring. And this brings us to a very important truth. Minimalism isn't about living with less. It's about living with more of what matters. More freedom, more peace, more experiences, more love. Every dollar saved on things you don't truly need is a dollar you can spend on creating memories, nurturing your health, or investing in relationships. Every hour saved by not managing clutter is an hour you can spend enjoying life. If there's one thing I'd love for you to take away from this conversation, it's that retirement doesn't have to be about scarcity. It can be about abundance of time, of joy, of meaning. And minimalism is one of the simplest, most effective ways to get there. So as you look around your home, your schedule, your spending habits, ask yourself, what really matters to me now? What brings me joy? What helps me live with peace and purpose? Keep those things, cherish them, and let go of the rest. Because when you do, you'll find that life feels lighter, easier, and far more rewarding. And before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a bit of encouragement. Don't feel like you need to change everything overnight. Start small. Clear out one drawer, cancel one subscription, pause before one purchase. Each small step adds up, and over time, you'll notice the difference not just in your finances, but in your entire way of living. If this message resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you tried minimalism in your own life? Has it helped you save money or feel more at peace? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We share more tips like this to help you live a simpler, happier, and more financially secure life after 60. Here's to your retirement years being full of freedom, joy, and the kind of wealth that money alone can't buy. Remember, it's never too late to simplify, save, and start living your best life. As we bring this conversation to a close, I want you to imagine something with me. Picture waking up tomorrow morning in a space that feels calm, open, and uncluttered. No piles of bills nagging for attention, no closets overflowing with things you don't use. No lingering sense of, I should deal with that someday. Instead, you sit down with your morning tea or coffee and feel at ease because you know your finances are steady, your home is manageable, and your days are yours to enjoy. That's the heart of minimalism in retirement. It's not about sacrifice. It's about creating space for peace, for health, for the moments that matter most. Over the years, I've spoken with so many people who tell me the same thing. They don't miss the stuff they let go of, but they cherish the freedom they gained. One woman in her late 60s told me, I thought I'd feel sad giving away my extra dishes and furniture, but instead, I felt lighter. My home finally felt like it fit my life today, not the life I had 30 years ago. That's such an important reminder. Retirement is not about clinging to the past. It's about shaping the present and preparing for a joyful future. Minimalism helps us do that in practical ways by reducing expenses, stretching our retirement savings, and keeping us out of financial stress. But it also does something deeper. It reminds us that our worth, our joy, and our memories aren't tied to the things we own. They're found in the people we love, the experiences we create, and the peace we feel when our lives are in balance. And isn't that what retirement is supposed to be? A chance to breathe, to enjoy the fruits of our labor, to laugh more, to stress less? You've worked hard, you've carried responsibilities, and now you deserve to live simply, without the extra weight. Minimalism is just a tool to help you get there. Now, I know change can feel overwhelming. It's natural to think, where do I even start? Or, I've had these things for decades, how can I let go? That's why I always say, start small. Don't think about the whole house. Think about one drawer. Don't worry about all your expenses at once. Look at one bill, one subscription, one area where you can save. These small, steady steps build momentum, and before you know it, your life starts to shift. You notice more breathing room in your budget, more space in your home, more energy in your day. And little by little, those changes add up to something life-changing. Letting go is not about loss, it's about trust. Trusting that you already have enough. Trusting that your life is full, even without another purchase. Trusting that peace comes from within, not from what sits on a shelf. When you practice that trust, not only do you save money, but you also unlock something far more valuable: contentment. I think back to my own grandmother. She lived a very simple life, not because she followed a trend called minimalism, but because she grew up in a time when you made do with less. She didn't chase the latest thing. She cherished what she had. She sewed her clothes until the fabric wore thin. She cooked meals from scratch. She treasured the company of neighbors and family. And do you know what? She was one of the happiest people I've ever known. She taught me that joy doesn't come from accumulation, it comes from appreciation. That's the spirit I want to leave you with today. Retirement isn't about buying more, storing more, or worrying about what you might be missing. It's about savoring what you already have, letting go of what weighs you down, and living each day with gratitude. And the beautiful truth is, when you live that way, your bank account often thanks you too. So, as you step into this next chapter of your life, I invite you to take a deep breath and ask yourself, what do I want more of? Peace? Freedom? Experiences? Connection? Whatever your answer is, minimalism can help you get there. It's not about having less. It's about making room for more of what matters. And if you found something meaningful in this conversation, I'd love to hear your story. How has simplifying your life helped you? What small step could you take today to bring a little more peace and savings into your retirement? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your words might just be the encouragement someone else needs to take their first step. If this video gave you something to think about, don't forget to like it. It lets me know this message is reaching the people who need it. And if you want more tips and encouragement for living well after 60, hit the subscribe button and join our community. Together, we can support one another in building lives that are rich in meaning, even if they're simpler in things. Here's to you, to your health, your happiness, your financial peace, and the joy that comes from knowing you already have what you need. Remember, it's never too late to simplify, to save, and to live your retirement years with intention. May you find freedom in letting go and abundance in what remains.